I used to say, I don't lose money, I make less money. So
Yeah.
if I make a little bit less, but everybody is happy, I could close the chapter with this project, move to the next. It's a win.
Welcome back to the Cash Flow Podcast, the podcast where we talk about turning properties into profits. I'm your host, Jason Yoss, and today my guest is Ronen Barda. Ronen, how you doing?
Good. Amazing.
I'm great. I'm so glad to have you in. I love you to death. I love all your work, and
Thank you.
I think a lot of people are going to love what you have to say about, being a contractor, especially all the work you do with tons of the investors out here in the San Diego area doing flips, remodels, rehabs, building. I know you got a lot to say, so let me get into it. First and foremost, okay, how long have you been doing this for?
Ooh, forever. So I grew up around construction. My dad was a contractor for a majority of his life.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember nights seeing him sitting on the table with blueprints and bidding jobs. So I guess it's kind of ingrained in me.
Perfect.
Did some of the work myself with him, whether it's like a little bit of framing, concrete, and then mostly they put me to a lot of hard work. Bring this stuff over here, put this stuff over there. So
as they should have.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You learn by doing, right?
Oh yeah.
And so now you own Sherrari Design?
Yes.
Okay.
Sherrari Design Build.
So Sherrari Design Build, and you are a general contractor. Talk to me about, what your focus is.
My focus is mainly remodels, residential remodels. It would be a small remodel all the way to a complete home remodel. We do also room additions, ADUs, which we like. So all of that, anything that comes.
Talked about how did you come by this niche? You've done tons of home remodels and ADUs. How did that come about?
So a little bit at a time. You start with small bathrooms, a little bit of larger bathroom, and then go into a kitchen, and then the different size of kitchens. And then it goes into, okay, I want my whole house remodeled. So you grow a little bit at a time, and then you get the experience, and then the projects grow. It's interesting.
Absolutely. And as you've been going through this, talk to me about a mentor. I mean, you talked a little bit about growing up in the trades, but as you started your own businesses, who are you turning to in terms of mentorship?
At the beginning, it was hard. There was nobody to turn to. And then I came across different events. And then you come to find out, okay, you need to join some kind of a mastermind group, right? So I joined Vistage, which was phenomenal for me, especially I didn't go to business school or learn anything. So all of a sudden you have to grow up a little bit and worry about payroll and taxes and taking care of people.
Payroll, taxes, things you definitely don't learn if you haven't gone to business school. Me neither, so go figure.
I like the selling and dealing with the people, but everything else is
So with that kind of group, it helped you form that back end of the business. Okay, now as you take it into a lot more work, do you have a certain philosophy when it comes to attacking projects or when you approach a project, especially like an ADU or a big remodel?
So for me, it comes down to relationships. So the first thing is the client in front of me. What do they want? What kind of people they are? Whether I want to work with them or not. And then just figure out the best way I can help them. Whether it's figuring out the project, can I make this dream come true? And then can I hit their budget? Which is always the difficult part.
Right.
But if the relationship is there and then the chemistry is there and we feel like we can help each other and work together, it's usually a successful project.
And that makes the most sense. Just there have got to be a lot of people that you're like, there's no way, this isn't for me, right?
Yes.
What is it though about the budget part that is it difficult to try to explain to someone like, I just can't do it for this amount? Or do you normally tell them like, go get your other bids and then come back to me when you're ready? Or how do you approach somebody who's like, I want to do it for X, and you're like, no, the budget, that's not going to meet it?
So dealing with that is trying to help people with the math a little bit. So
Okay.
Let's start with the material, like how much you want to spend on that, right? So if your budget is $40,000 for the kitchen, but you're going to spend $15,000 on a fridge, it's not going to work.
Right.
And then sometimes people do that. Oh,
Good point.
$30,000 on the appliances, $10,000 left to do the kitchen. Make it happen. So.
$30,000 appliances, $10,000 cabinets, by the way.
Not happen. Yes.
That's a very good approach. Educating your clients so they're able to come to a realistic. They don't do this every day.
No.
So
No, they don't. They don't know what to expect. So you need to be you kind of need to guide them, tell them whether their relationship is going to survive the remodel or not. Sometimes.
this is very true. Look, I deal with the same thing that you're talking about. You're going to have people come to you and say, oh, I've remodeled in the past, or I've done a kitchen before, or I've swung a hammer in the past. And you're like, that's great. I did 2 of them before breakfast. Okay. Like, I'm not trying to belittle what you know, but I do this every day. So let me help you understand what the basics are. And then I got to make money too, right? People forget that you got to make money.
Yeah. So they need to be reminded of that. And then I feel like you need to respect. People want to be heard. So
Right.
if they wants to kind of say and then tell about his experience and share, sure, let's go for it.
Yeah.
But I'm here for a reason, or else he would have done it by himself.
Right.
So if I can create the impression that I'm the right person for the job, that he feels comfortable with me, has the trust, then I'm good to go. Usually, yes.
Again, I love your attitude and philosophy that you subscribe, because exactly the way you're talking now is exactly the way you talk with people.
Yeah.
There's no, I say it all the time, Ronen is not throwing a phone at anybody. He's not throwing a can. Ronen's like,
No.
okay, like if we can do it, we'll do it.
Yeah.
And if we can't do it, I'll tell you why and we'll move on. So in that vein, let's talk about some projects specifically so that our audience can get a better idea, understand as you walk them through a project. I think we talked about something local, right, in Canto?
Yeah.
Talk to me about that project.
So that was a personal project, a deal that came out of nowhere through a B&I relationship. And there was a nice big house. It was a 3,000 square feet house in Condor, 2 stories, really nice size lot. And
It was a single family house, one unit.
single family house, yeah.
Got it.
And so we thought, okay, we can buy this maybe as flipping will not work. The numbers
Right.
just did not make sense.
Right.
We thought, okay, could be like a great investment. Let's see what we can do with it. So as the conversation went and we were kind of exploring the house, we said, okay, maybe we can divide it a little bit, right? So instead of 1 income, maybe create 2 incomes.
Okay.
And then it became 3. We can make 3 out of this.
Right.
Right? So as we're going through it and I'm doing the layouts and all the measurements, and then I'm thinking, okay, I can do 1, 2, 3, and then we have the garage. If somebody will need the garage, I can convert the garage too.
Right.
So now we're looking at 4 units. So it was great. All of a sudden, you're thinking, okay, will the rent cover the mortgage?
Right.
All of a sudden to kind of surpass it and make really good income from it. And it's just a matter if you can make the layout work to where the rent actually also makes sense. It's great.
What did you end up with, like, unit wise? You have 4 units total,
Yeah.
right? So bedroom, bath.
So first unit is 1 bedroom, 1 bath.
Okay.
It's about 700 square feet, something like that. The other one on the same level, it's 3 bedrooms, 2 bath.
Okay.
Also very spacious, very good. Then we go downstairs. We did 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, and then the garage was supposed to be 1 bedroom, 1 bath. How much more can you fit? And then I saw this post on Instagram. I think I told you about it. Justin Brennan.
Yeah.
How do you get additional $250 a month on your rental? I was like, oh, this is interesting. So he found a way to put like another bedroom in one of his rentals. So I was like, I can do that. So I took space from one of the other units, created another bedroom. So now it became 2 bedroom, 1 bath. And then the rent was obviously much better.
Obviously, huge, totally much better. And then what about the rest of was it a big lot, or you still have ability to do more, or like what?
Oh, you can build more on it. It's pretty huge.
Right.
But now it's just a matter of whether it makes sense financially to do it
Right.
or not. But having 4 units out of 1 house
That's huge.
I wouldn't have dreamed about it.
What about the vision to do that? I mean, how were you able to look at this property, even though huge, 3,000 plus square feet? How were you able to look at it and say, look, I can make these changes and I can come up with not only 1, 2, I can come up with 4 units?
You got to be creative, right? So I do this for a living. So how do we create spaces? Because sometimes people have a small home and or they want to add square footage, or they're trying to create more space. And sometimes you can be creative with the existing home without adding square foot.
Got it.
So, and then they save money. They love you for it. Obviously,
Right.
everybody
Layout.
wins. But this time it was, we just saw that the house is really wide and then huge rooms that are not going to be used.
Okay.
So then we said, okay, we can put a wall over here.
Right.
And then plumbing had to be really creative because now you have 4 kitchens on a
Right, 4 kitchens, more bathrooms.
Yeah, so we were able to be creative, and then with the great subs that I work with, so everybody kind of put their input. You can do this, you cannot do that, and it just worked out great. Yeah.
Challenges. I'm sure you came across multiple challenges. What? Give me 1 or 2 of your biggest challenges you came up against with this property.
One is getting hot water to everybody, but that's one. But another thing is plumbing can be pretty expensive. So one of the units to create a bathroom, we had to run a brand new sewer line from that all the way to the city connection, which was, I don't know, like 60 feet or more.
Wow.
You have to break concrete, through the driveway, a lot of digging. So took advantage of a pre-existing plumbing for a sink. And then there are special toilets that they have a grinder in the back. They can use the same drain. And then so all of a sudden we're like, okay, this makes it possible.
Gotcha.
Here is another bathroom.
That's amazing.
So.
Talk to me about the total time. Like, this couldn't have happened overnight. How did you finance the project? How long did it take? And how does it end out now? Is it all rented? Did you sell it off? Like, what's the end state?
So it's all rented.
Okay.
Which is great by you. There you go. And then, it took about, I want to say, almost 6 months to complete.
Okay, got it.
Just a matter of the planning took about a month just to kind of divide everything, see how everything's going to work. And then just doing all the work.
Love it.
Everything pretty much was gutted out. So everything is new.
Right.
It was down to the studs, new plumbing, insulation, wiring, because it has to be divided. So...
just the ability to see that vision-wise, a lot of people they're not able to do that. And I know you do this every day, but that's a great vision to be able to see a single-family home and be able to end out with 4 units that are...
I preach it all the time. So especially if you're, let's say, a couple lives in a massive home, instead of building another ADU, you can use the space in your home.
Right.
Separate entrance.
Right.
Be creative with the layout, and then all of a sudden you have a unit in there, right?
I like
and it's ready in 2 months instead of 6.
It's crazy. In that vein, when you work with ADUs or interior spaces, what is the biggest challenge you normally face when people come to you and say, Ronen, I want an ADU, or I want to redo this entire space? Like, what's the biggest challenges and hurdles you face or that you have to help them overcome?
Closing the gap between where they think it's going to cost, how much really it's going to cost.
And again, I hate that to be the common theme here, but it's 100%. This is where most investors strike out anyway. They think their budget is this, and like the reality comes out here. So how do you help them with that? Is it education? What are you doing?
Yeah, educating. Look, if it's a flat lot, plumbing and electrical is close, good. It's very easy.
Right.
It's going to be inexpensive, right? Inexpensive. But if you're trying to build the ADU on a slope, if the ADU is in the back of the property and it's lower than your main one and the sewer is all the way up, how do you get it, right?
Right.
Some people think, it's just like 800 square feet, it's square, just give me a square footage price. But then you figure out there is a patio of another 300 square feet, and then it's all dressed with tile. So things can add up,
right?
Especially when people are trying to be creative. I want to have vaulted ceilings or 14-foot ceilings. So now it's not something that they can fit like a square footage price per se.
Got it.
Yeah.
In turning to clients in general, obviously you've been doing this for a long time, almost 20 years. What is something you wish they knew when they came to you?
That's a good question.
And I don't mean to send it that way, but we all deal with clients when they approach us and say, if you just understood this, it would be much better when we came and sat down and had that conversation about.
So most of my clients are referrals through friends or networking groups. So I think if people took the time, let's say if I came to your house, I was referred to you and I came to your house, if people will take the time to listen as opposed to worry about, okay, how much, right? If they would listen to the process, if they would listen to how you calculate the cost, what other fees are associated with ADUs, because you can build it, but then you have a sewer fee, you have a solar that you have to put on top, all of those extra fees that people don't really think about.
Sure.
So if they have a clear conversation, ask all the questions that they want without having the fear of like, is he going to ask for my money today? Right. So if they knew that there is no pressure, I don't need their business right now that same day, and then they will just listen, we'll have a conversation about it. I think that would be great.
You had mentioned to me before as well that you said, look, these contracts, if it's not on the line item, like it's probably not included or it's not going to happen. How often do you have clients actually go line by line on the expectation on the contract on what's going to be done in the scope of work?
Like you said, a lot of them is their first project.
Right.
They'll read through it, but some of those things don't really make sense to them, right? So like I do it every day, and that line makes total sense to me. Maybe they don't really understand it. So taking the time and ask the questions, maybe like each line what it means would be great. If the scope of work doesn't describe a great image of how they want this project to look like, then they should ask questions.
I love that.
How am I going to change it to make it look the way I want it to?
It's funny too, because communication-wise, people see or hear what they want, and so it's very easy for people at the end to point the finger instead of just stepping back and go like, oh, well, maybe I looked at it this way, and the person I'm working with on the other end saw it a different way. Biggest takeaway from being in this industry now for this long, what are you telling other, not just real estate investors who want to do a flip or an ADU, but other people who want to own a construction company, want to service clients who are doing big remodels, flips? What's your advice to them breaking into this industry, especially today? I mean, 20 years ago, it was a little bit different.
For me, is do right by your client.
Right.
Like if you, there's always solutions. There's always way to make it work. Sometimes you got to pay for it. Sometimes you're going to lose money, which is fine. But if the client is happy, more will come from it.
Yes.
So even though you had challenges, but you stuck by them, they'll refer you. They'll work with you. So I think that's the main one.
I think...
don't be afraid to fail. If
you're
going to lose money, don't be afraid.
Too many business people, and I remember being this way in the beginning. It's like, oh, I'm not going to make money on that deal. Well, maybe you won't on this one.
I used to say, I don't lose money, I make less money. So if I make a little bit less, but everybody's happy, I could close the chapter with this project, move to the next. It's a win.
That's 100%. I make less money. That's the best way to phrase it, everybody. That's how you should. Yeah. That's how you need to say it in the mirror. What's next for you? What project you have coming up next, or what are you excited about next?
Figure out different ways. Trying to kind of maybe be my own client on a couple of projects. Yeah. So that's something I'm looking forward into. I do have a couple of projects that are in the pipeline already. That's exciting, like a couple of large ADUs. So that's going to keep me busy. But I'm trying to see what other opportunities are out there to kind of create more income from here, more income from there, and just have fun while I do it.
Are you your own toughest client?
Yes.
Ronen,
yes.
It's always good seeing you, man.
Yeah, you as well. I love you, man.
I love it, man. I love having you around. And I love being able to hang out with you and pick your brain. You're one of the best people and nicest people I know by far, especially in an industry full of arrogant, terrible people. So, everybody, Ronen Barda, thanks for tuning in. And again, please join us next time on the Cashflow Podcast, the podcast where we talk about turning properties into profits. Thank you.